soon, if not now, they'll have more conscripts. So they have to get out there and push them forward, because if they don't, notice he said deserters, it's because they have a problem with that right now. They've probably got many deserters on their hands.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine does not seem to be going as smoothly as Vladimir Putin promised. Earlier today, Putin aired his grievances, angry about military losses, sanctions, and the huge blow to Russia's international standing, as he claimed Russia is being canceled by the West. His cancellation grievance came days after his government sentenced his biggest critic, opposition leader Alexei Navalny, to 9 more years in prison. So the question is, who is canceling whom? With us tonight, Vladimir Asherkov. He's the executive director of Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation in Russia. Vladimir, thank you for joining us. I know it's not easy for you. Help us understand, why is Putin complaining about the consequences of his own actions? None of these things would have happened if he didn't invade Ukraine.
It's ridiculous. He also invoked the canceling of John Rowling. So it's really bizarre that he justifies the killing of thousands of Ukrainians by some criticism of John Rowling on the internet. How mad can you be to do that?
What does all of this tell you about how the war is going? Right? Whining about his world standing, about military losses, about how much the sanctions hurt. These are not the words of a big, strong, winning man.
It's true. The war has been going for a month, and the military successes of Russian army are not that great. No major city has been captured. The losses of Russian army are over 10,000 people, and the economic cost of the sanctions is imposed by Western countries is enormous. So the war is not going great for Russia.
Russians have very, very limited information. What do typical Russians, your own relatives, what do they believe about the war?
State propaganda has been pushing the story of Ukraine, Nazi government and Ukraine's nationalism, but not that many people believe it. Maybe there is a 30% of supporters of war in Russia who are fed this disinformation. But most people are silent because of a repressive environment. They cannot speak up without danger of being detained, imprisoned, or harassed. But this war is not popular in Russia.
Well, how about the danger that you put yourself in every day, right now, being on American television? You fight to get the truth out, and Navalny is now in prison for another 9 years for doing exactly that.
Navalny was against the war from the start, and he sent his messages from the prison cell and from the court that was taking place in the penal colony that is held now. And he was speaking against the war, and he was calling Russians to protest and not be silent during this unprovoked, unnecessary war. And this has been his position throughout the decade that he has been doing political work in Russia and fighting against the corrupt and inhuman government of Vladimir Putin.
How does he get these messages out, right? Almost immediately after he was sentenced, he tweeted this, quote, "The best support for me and other political prisoners is not sympathy and kind words, but actions. Any activity against the deceitful and thievish Putin's regime, any opposition to these war criminals." How in the world is he getting these tweets out while in prison?
He's seen by his lawyer for about an hour a day. And during that time, he scribbles his handwritten messages to us, to his family, and he also reads the material that we sent him. So he's keeping abreast of what's happening in the world. And he is really in touch with what goes on in Russia and the whole world.
It is pretty incredible and brave that he continues to speak this truth. But how hard is it getting? Today, Spotify became the latest media company to pull out of Russia because of censorship. How much is all of this limiting your ability to get out the anti-Putin message, to tell people the truth about the war?
Russian authorities have been stepping down on internet in Russia. You cannot access Facebook or Twitter without resorting to a VPN connection. But YouTube is still operating, and YouTube has been the primary means of reaching Russian people for us and for other independent journalists and media from outside of Russia. So we keep continuing using YouTube for that.